Walter had always been unlucky. Constantly and everywhere, wherever he tried, wherever he went, wherever he poked his nose, he found nothing but trouble. But then, amidst the darkness of all this bad luck, he found what seemed like a lucky break. At least, that's what Walter thought. This place, as strange as it might seem, was his job. He was an ordinary elevator operator, fixing and adjusting elevator systems. He saw his luck in this field precisely because of the money. Although the job seemed simple, it brought him a substantial income, around $20,000 in 3 months. A hefty salary for someone who was essentially an ordinary elevator mechanic, right? One day, Walter had an accident at work, leading the director to fire him to prevent the cops and, perhaps fatally, the FBI from investigating. He and his co-worker, Ben, were fixing an old elevator. Walter held down the stop button while Ben descended the winch into the shaft. A complaint came in that the elevator wasn't reaching the top floors. They both figured the shaft itself was the problem. Without hesitation, Ben volunteered to go. Although Walter tried to dissuade him, Ben insisted. Nearing the bottom, the winch gave way and, due to its age, broke. Ben plummeted to the bottom with a crash. Fortunately, the height wasn't very great, and he escaped with only bruises and abrasions. Walter heard all this and began to panic. Ben was almost unconscious, but he was trying to show signs of life by making noise and kicking the shaft grate. However, Walter didn't hear him, and due to his inattention, accidentally let go of the button. The elevator, like a weight fallen from a roof, began to fall. Walter managed to climb out of the cabin just as the exit was just a small gap. With a roar and a screeching sound of metal, the elevator hurtled down the shaft at full speed. Ben saw it falling on him. The last thing Walter remembered was looking down, hearing his friend scream, and then the crash, the elevator breaking apart, drowning out Ben's scream and blanketing him in complete silence. "That's it, Walter. Pack your work bags and get out of here," the elevator repairman said angrily. "But I worked so hard for you. I've been toiling for this company for 5 years, and you're just going to throw me out? I don't care how long you toiled for us. It's your fault my coworker died. It's your fault, Walter. I don't need the cops, let alone the FBI, coming in here and asking me if I'm involved in this bullshit. I can confess to everything myself if you want. I know I'm guilty, so I can honestly go to the nearest police station and tell them everything." "Let's not do that, Walter. Even if you go and tell them everything yourself, nothing will change. In fact, it will only make things worse. It won't do much good, if there is one at all." "But, no buts," the director said menacingly. "How am I going to support my family now? This job, the only place that paid me this kind of money, the only place that'll accept me. You can't do this to me, please. Think again." "I don't care. So what if you have a family? You should have thought about this earlier before you made a mistake, Walter. Don't play on my pity. Move to another city, another state. I don't care." "I'm out of money. Will you at least pay me the promised salary?" "Really? And where did you spend all your money, my dear, huh? You probably blew it all at the casino. Well, I don't care. Your salary, however small, will cover this unfortunate incident. So, figure it out for yourself and understand that you're left penniless, my friend. What should I do now? I don't care. You'll figure it out. These are your personal problems. Now leave my office and this company's premises. You're fired, Walter. Walter, his face a despairing expression full of disappointment, resentment, and pain, stood up and quietly left. That evening, he returned home. Silent and unconscious, he went to his room. His wife, Rebecca, noticed this and slowly followed him. Slowly, unlocking the door, she entered the room and quietly asked, "Walter, darling, what's wrong?" Walter couldn't tell his wife he'd been fired. He didn't know how Rebecca would react. After all, he'd been shunted from one job to another. He'd had no income at all, and here, a small job, but a good income. And suddenly, in an instant, he was about to lose it all. Fear of the truth overwhelmed him, but he remained silent. Without turning to face his wife, he answered her in a tired voice. "Rabbi, everything's fine. Leave me alone. I'm just tired." "Well, all right. Whatever you say, darling." Walter's house was heavily in debt, and he either had to pay it off or hand over the property to the government. The sheer size of the debt horrified Walter. Turning pale and rubbing his face with his hands, Walter wondered how he would tell his wife, but what worried him most was how he would explain it all to his children. The day arrived. The family, as on all other days, was happy, rejoicing in the new day. "Dad, when are we going to Disneyland? I remember you promised that if we finished this school year with excellent grades, you'd take us there." Danny, the family's youngest son, asked and answered, "Ah, ha, ha. Yeah, Danny, we will go there. If you promised, we'll definitely go." "Dad, you also said that if I finished school without skipping school or partying, you'd buy me a new laptop." Teresa, Walter's eldest daughter, said playfully, "Yes, dear, I remember that, ha-ha. If I promise that, then I'll keep my word." "And you, Mark, do you want a new stuffed animal, or have you become more attached to this dinosaur, huh?" Mark, his 6-month-old son, looked at his father with a cheerful look and laughed, hugging a dinosaur stuffed animal. "Dad, he's so little. What does he understand from all the things you ask him and tell him?" asked Dave, the middle son. Walter had 4 children. "You don't understand anything either, because you're completely clueless, Dave, you stinker," Teresa said. "You're going to get it," Dave exclaimed angrily. "Come on, go ahead, try it, huh?" Teresa stood up and ran outside, Dave running after her. "Rebecca, can we talk?" Walter asked timidly. "Yes, we can. Did something happen?" "No, yes, let's go into the room." In the room, Walter told Rebecca everything about getting fired and about the inflated debt on the house. She sat down on the bed in shock, her hands hanging down. What should we do, Walter?" "I don't know." Suddenly there was a knock on the door, and Walter and Rebecca exchanged glances. He told her to stay in the room while he went and see who it was. Opening the door, Walter was confronted by 2 respectable men in burial suits. "Walter Robins, right?" one of the gentlemen asked. Walter confirmed his name, and this same gentleman, not the other one, said, "You owe a very large amount of money on this house. We sent you letters. You should have read them. I won't waste time, so I'll ask you straight out. Do you have the funds to pay off the debt? Well, do you or Walter, I need a straight answer from you." The gentleman said coldly and sternly, "Do you have the money to pay off the debt or not?" Walter didn't respond to this and remained silent, hoping that things would turn out for the better. His hopes were in vain. "Well, as I understand it, you don't have the money. In fact, you're not in a position to pay off the debt. In that case, we'll give you a deadline to vacate this property. After that deadline, our workers will come here, not alone, but with the police." Walter was taken aback. "What? An eviction time? Are you asleep?" "That's the law, Walter. Everyone has to pay their bills, and judging by your debt, you've never even heard of that rule. I have a family, 4 children, and pets. Where am I going to live with all this?" "That's not our problem. There are rules and laws that every citizen, every person in the United States must live by. Those who don't follow them are punished. We treat you like human beings, even though we could have arrested you." "Arrest?" Walter shouted. "Let's not get negative. That's our job." The gentleman handed the green folder to Walter, turned around, and began to leave. One of them turned back and said, "I'll give you some advice, Walter. You better get out of here much sooner than when our workers show up. They won't have conversations like that anymore. We won't let you live anyway. Good luck, sir." The gentleman got into the black Chevrolet and drove away. Walter stood at the threshold, a puzzled and at the same time frightened expression on his face, holding a folder in his hands, and watched as the car disappeared from view, driving further and further from the house. After entering, he returned to the room where Rebecca was waiting and sat on the bed, clutching his head. He tossed the folder onto the edge of the bed. When Rebecca asked, "Who was that, and why is Walter so confused?" he silently ignored her and continued to tangle his hair. The very next day, Walter told everyone everything. He and Rebecca walked around the house together like desperate zombies. They were silent and didn't speak to the children. Only once that day did she ask Walter to go buy bread. Walter silently walked out into the street, followed by his 2 children, Mark and Teresa. He walked through the streets with his last cents in his pocket. "I'm not sure I'll even have enough for half a loaf," Walter thought to himself. The children, meanwhile, walked behind him. Mark was gazing at the windows of the passing stores, and Teresa, noticing that something was wrong with her father, decided to ask him everything. "Dad, I can see something's going on with Mom. You've both been silent all day, not talking to us. Yesterday, I saw 2 men in suits standing outside our door, including you. What did they want?" "They're colleagues from work," Walter replied curtly and emotionlessly. "Okay, but if you need help, I'm ready to help. Just let me know." His father didn't react to this at all, but continued walking, lost in thought, withdrawn into himself. Suddenly, passing an old wooden post, Walter caught sight of an enticing ad, which both confused and delighted him. After returning home without a loaf of bread, he ran up to his wife and showed her the flyer. She immediately found the ad odd, as there was no introduction or description of the product. There was only an advertisement for the product and a condition that, by agreeing to it, a person could get what they wanted. Advertisement. Get a building free, subject to agreement to one contract. This is what the advertisement looked like. Besides, there was a number on the advertisement. Walter began discussing with Rebecca whether to call and make a deal. "I don't even know, honey. This advertisement has a certain secrecy, as if they're hiding something. I don't like all this." "Then let's call the number and find out everything, okay? And then we'll see," Walter said calmly. Rebecca looked at Walter with disbelief as he dialed the number. After 3 tries, he received an answer. A young woman's voice came on the line. She told Walter that to make the deal, he would need to move to Suffolk County, Massachusetts, on the outskirts of Boston. He would receive the goods there. After the call, the husband discussed the trip with his wife, and the very next day they decided to go to Boston and close the deal. Walter called his girlfriend back and said he was ready to come. After a long drive, the whole family reached the outskirts of Boston. Walter told the children he was taking them on a trip to a neighboring state. Absurd. Arriving at the appointed place, the main family member got out of the car and looked around. He saw that he had arrived at a large old mansion. This mansion was striking in its size and scope. 3 stories, all white, made entirely of wood. In places the wood was rotten from constant weathering, but this did not stop the house from being a delight. On the contrary, it gave it a certain sophistication. The shutters on the windows were made in the style of the 1920s, or even the century before. Having met the realtor, with whom Walter had discussed everything over the phone, he approaches her and begins a conversation. During their conversation, she doesn't really explain anything about the building. She doesn't say who last lived there or how long the house has been empty. "So, Walter, here's your house. It's completely yours. Plus, you get about 3 square kilometers of land with a forest park. The forest and all your land are fenced in, don't worry." "Listen, this is fantastic," Walter exclaimed. "Well, I don't know, Dad. I don't really like this house. Plus, the 3rd floor is a bit of a concern to me. All the windows are covered." Teresa interrupted her father. "Yeah, Dad, this place is creepy," Danny added. "I actually like it," Dave said. "You like the trash can, too, to be honest," Teresa said. Dave took offense and ran after Teresa, who had already fled into the house. "Oh, my, at least little Mark likes it here, right, Mark?" his father asked. Mark alone laughed carefree. He was the only one who found this place dazzling. "So what? Walter, do you agree?" the realtor asked. "Absolutely." Before Walter could finish speaking, The realtor herself interrupted him. "But I have a condition in the deal." Walter and Rebecca looked at her with intrigued eyes. Then Walter decided to find out what the condition would be. The realtor lowered her head, and a sinister smile appeared on her face. The condition was as bizarre as could be. "If you walk around the house every 10 days for 1 year, holding a red candle and wearing a black wedding gown, the house is yours. Remember, you have to switch every 10 days. First you, Walter, and then after him, you, Rebecca." Walter and Rebecca exchanged glances. "So, is that a deal?" Walter, realizing they have nowhere else to live and practically no one else to go to, agrees without hesitation. Already at her car, the young realtor adds, "And yes, don't go up to the 3rd floor. Don't open the door. It's just that they've sprayed pesticides there, so it's best not to go there," the realtor said in a mysterious and enigmatic voice, then got into her car and drove away. "A very strange woman," said Rebecca. "Come on, she's quite pretty," Walter said in a wild voice. "I'll give you a bit now, come in," his wife said menacingly. Walter, laughing, went to carry the things from the trunk into the house. Their truck was supposed to arrive soon with the leftovers. Late in the evening, the whole family sat down to a late dinner. The kitchen was large but empty. Empty in the sense that it was empty of life. There was furniture, and it looked like it had been renovated, but something was bothering Rebecca and Teresa. The boys and her husband had already gotten used to the house in one evening. So delicious, my dear, so delicious," Walter said, chewing. "Yes, Mom, your turkey is simply amazing. I'm speechless." "I don't remember you ever cooking like that," Danny said admiringly, after which everyone else echoed his words. "Oh, guys, that's enough. Thank you. It's just that today is a holiday, so I decided to whip up a dish for it, and apparently I overdid it." "No, darling, it really is delicious and incomparable." "By the way, Dad," Teresa interrupted Walter awkwardly, "you said you were taking us for a walk, but you brought us to this house." The table fell silent. The only sound audible was the clatter of cutlery hitting the plates the children were eating from. "Well, that's what our walk was all about. The whole road, our journey in the house. It's a kind of secret surprise for all of you," he said, deftly evading the situation. Yeah, good, Dad." Everyone fell silent. The family, instead of talking, began to eat in silence. Not a single one dared to say a word. Rebecca, meanwhile, had stopped eating and was moving her fork around her plate, making circles with it. She sat there with a thoughtful expression, seemingly lost in thought. Walter noticed this and asked her if everything was okay. Rebecca, her thoughtful gaze fixed on her plate and fork, answered him, "I don't know, Walter. Something's bothering me. This whole house, the wooded park, and our land is so big, and that stupid rule, too. I don't know, darling. Something's not right here." "Rabbi, just clean up, then it'll be clean. But seriously, everything's fine. Our house, our land, too. The kids will have a blast. We need to be happy and laugh, my dear," he told her in a cheerful, upbeat voice. Rebecca looked away at Walter, wished him bon appetit, stood up and left the kitchen to continue unpacking. The children had already finished dinner, and each one after another, left the kitchen. Only little Mark remained in his high chair, playing with his food, throwing it everywhere. Now Walter, too, sat down thoughtfully and began to ponder. The next day the weather was sunny, so the children as one ran to frolic and play outside. Denny and Dave were playing with a ball, kicking it into the bushes, then toward the shed located not far from their house, then toward the house itself. "Careful, you idiot! Where are you kicking it?" Dave asked Denny, carried away by the game and excited. "Well, you see, I'm still little. Your legs are longer than mine. I can't run like you. Besides, it's not my fault I kick crookedly and in that," Danny said, almost sobbing. "Oh, come on, don't whine." Dave took a running start and kicked the ball so hard that it first flew into a tree, then ricocheted off a nearby rock and flew into the house, straight into the hallway. There was a sound of falling boxes and the clatter of glass or china. Then the mother's disgruntled voice began shouting, calling the children inside for a showdown. "Here we go again," Dave said discontentedly. "What are you looking at? Go get it, and I'll wait here for you." "Dave, that's not fair. Why should I have to get it? You kicked it in Mom's home. You go get it." No, I'm too lazy and too shy, so go get it." "It's just a couple of minutes. I went, got spanked, took the ball, and went back. That's all." "But I don't want a spanking." "Denny, come on, stop whining and go give the ball back." Denny lowered his head in disappointment and cautiously approached the house. Turning around, he saw Dave silently urging him on, waving his hand. Denny swallowed his fear and slowly entered the house. "Come in faster, turtle," Dave shouted. "Yeah, I'm coming, Denny said timidly. Entering cautiously, he began searching among the boxes for the ball. The hallway seemed to be made of box-like walls. Denny looked around and saw scattered boxes. "Mom won't praise me for this, much less Dave," he thought to himself. Running up to them, glancing around, he pulled apart the boxes and found the coveted ball. Taking it, Danny was about to leave when suddenly a door set into the wall creaked open slowly. Denny turned around. He looked toward the exit and the open door. Childish curiosity got the better of him. Carefully, he tried to make his way to the door, but accidentally brushed against the corner of one of the boxes. He tripped and fell, dropping the ball. He landed head-on right at the entrance to the mysterious darkness. The ball rolled, hit the wall, and, as if on cue, fell down the steps. Denny watched as the ball gradually disappeared into the darkness, falling further and further until the sound of its fall was completely lost. Denny was afraid Dave would beat him for losing the ball. He decided to get up and follow him, when suddenly he couldn't hear the sound coming from the darkness of the descent. He stopped and peered into the darkness. Suddenly, a slight breeze blew from there. Denny, mesmerized, stared into it. He stared, trying to see something there. Suddenly, Denny heard something, as if from the very darkness of the mysterious descent. Someone was trying to speak to him, along with the wind. It sounded like a whisper, mixed with the breeze. Denny rose to his feet and, moving a little closer, seemed to see something, but then a strong gust of wind from the dark descent pushed him back. His small, childish heart began to beat. Denny was sitting by the wall opposite the opening of darkness. He heard footsteps. Then another. Something was slowly climbing upward. They were slow, heavy, but insistent. Someone was persistently climbing until the footsteps became more consistent and faster. Denny became frightened, screamed, and ran out of the hallway and into the street. The family heard his screams, except Dave, who was on the phone, and ran to Denny. "Denny, what happened? What happened?" Everyone asked him anxiously and nervously. Denny ran to his mother in tears and hugged her. "Mom, MF, MF, Mommy, there's someone in there. I heard him," he cried. Everyone looked at each other in confusion, and his father asked him who he was talking about. He replied that he'd seen an open door leading into some dark passageway from where he'd heard the sounds. Walter entered the house and asked his son to show him where the door was. He didn't have to look long. He spotted it right away, but to Denny's surprise, it was closed. "That door?" Walter asked. "Dad, don't open it," Denny said. "Don't worry, it's okay. I'll check and let you see for yourself that there's no one and nothing there." Walter carefully tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Then Teresa handed her father the crowbar, suggesting, "Maybe this will help." He immediately stuck the crowbar into the crack in the door. He pushed it forward, and the door creaked open, almost coming off its hinges. Walter slowly and deliberately opened it. He asked for a flashlight and began to climb down. Denny begged him not to, but his father's excuses didn't listen. Having descended all the way, Walter found a little thing hanging from the ceiling, like a light switch. He pulled it, but nothing happened. The switch must have burned out a long time ago. This is most likely the basement, Walter thought. "So how are you, honey? What's going on?" There was silence. "Walter? Honey? Daddy, Dad!" The children started shouting at him. "Everything's fine, don't yell." This must have been a basement at one point. There's a lot of junk in there. "A basement?" Rebecca asked. After he'd gotten up, he confirmed his words, adding that the light still needed to be fixed, and until he did, the children were forbidden from entering. Closing the door, he set about attaching the board, specifically nailing it to it. That night, when Walter and Rebecca managed to get the children into bed in their rooms, they had some privacy in the bathroom. Walter, hugging Rebecca and brushing his teeth, suggested she race him. She didn't mind. Just as he was starting to count, Walter was interrupted by the sound of something falling in the hallway downstairs. He spat out foam and told his wife he'd be back soon, and she agreed to wait for him. Rebecca was in a cheerful mood because there was some good news. Walter had found a new job not far from home with a good salary. Walter, however, descended the steps into the living room, but found and saw nothing. "So, what fell here?" he said. As he approached the main hallway of the house, he saw that one of the hanging paintings had fallen to the floor and shattered. Rebecca, meanwhile, had finished brushing her teeth and stood there, lost in thought. I really hope he succeeds. Maybe this house really isn't so creepy after all, she thought to herself. Spitting foam into the sink, she filled her mouth with water, rinsed her teeth with it, and spat it into the basin. Rebecca looked in the mirror. A stray hair on her head bothered her, but she tried to smooth it out. Taking out a comb, she began combing her hair. Having tucked the unfortunate hair in place and put the brush down, she was about to put the brush back. But suddenly, her hand brushed the brush, and she dropped it. Rebecca picked it up and, almost putting it back, suddenly didn't notice. Her gaze accidentally fell on the reflection of a dark silhouette standing behind the shower curtain. She stared at it through the mirror, afraid to do anything. The silhouette slowly began to raise something vaguely resembling a hand, and at that moment, Rebecca turned around and saw Walter, who had just walked in. Panicked, she hugged him and told him she saw someone behind the shower curtain. What? It was here, I'm telling you honestly, Walter. Walking over to the curtain, she pulled it back, but there was no one in the bathroom anymore, nor behind the curtain itself. Rebecca, let's go to bed. This is no time for jokes or lies. But I'm not lying. Okay, we'll figure it out tomorrow, Walter told her, putting it off, leaving it for tomorrow. The next day, Walter, as usual, got up before his family. He decided to save time to improve the lighting in the basement. That's what he decided on. Once he reached the basement, he caught a glimpse of the cat lying at the entrance. Its stomach was torn open. What he saw made Walter almost vomit. We need to remove the body quickly, or the children, if they see... Before he could finish speaking, a noise alerted him.